I cannot overemphasize the importance of the first moment of my day and my years-long struggle with it. The very moment when I first wake up and my eyes open, my brain is flooded with excitements and burdens and decisions and possibilities of pleasing or failing people. And from high school all through seminary, even into priesthood, merely waking up is one thing, but choosing to become vertical is a whole nother battle. I've tried literally everything. In high school, I consented to my father walking in and spraying cold water in my face. In seminary, I had my brothers bang on the door of my bedroom as they walked to the chapel for morning prayer. And in priesthood, I've tried having the alarm clock on the other side of the room. I've tried setting the radio alarm clock at full blast, first to the contemporary country music station that I can't stand, thinking maybe my hatred for this music will get me out of bed. But I just sleep through it. I've tried the rock station with music that I enjoy, but that just keeps me there longer. I've even tried the clock radio, my cell phone, and another alarm clock spread strategically throughout the room, even in a drawer, all set to go off in 2-minute intervals. Pretty clever, huh? But I end up either sleeping through them completely or conditioning myself to just ignore them and go back to sleep. Nothing seems to work. I've never reenacted, though, the Garfield comic where he gets so angry and he smashes the alarm clock into pieces. But my wrathful mood in the morning after being jolted awake has come pretty close to that. I finally found a solution, though, that works to wake me up. And that is the Philips brand Smart Sleep Wake Up Light Therapy lamp. It's an alarm clock that relies on light instead of sound. And it's really cool. You can program it to wake you up with a simulated sunrise starting from 0, gradually, over 30 minutes, until your bedroom is filled with a warm, calming light. You even have the option to have birds chirping in forest soundscapes. This is not an ad, I promise. It connects to the gospel. So rather than the loud, oppressive, jarring noises blaring in the darkness, I now am awakened in a much more natural and peaceful method. So all my problems are solved, right? Wrong. I may be gently woken up with fake sunlight and birds, and I may be in a much better mood, but there still remains the choice, the force of will, and the commitment to actually rising and starting the day. No human power or technology can relieve me of the responsibility and the choice to actually sit up and emerge from the warm, safe, and comfortable bed. My point is, I can try whatever technique, whatever creative solution, whatever expensive new lamp that I want. I am still powerless over my bed. And I need to turn that powerlessness over to the Lord. I need to trust Him that the day is worth living, no matter what depression or anxiety or despair have to say. The first reading describes what happens to those in God's story who have been exposed to the glorious light. We call them prophets. And the first reading says that early and often did the Lord, the God of their fathers, send His messages to them, but they mocked the messengers of God, despised His warnings, and scoffed at the prophets. A prophet is someone who has been chosen and sent by God to be an alarm clock in the darkness, a loud blaring noise that alerts people to God's goodness, His warnings, and His truth. But the people of Israel did not want to wake up. They wanted to stay in their comfortable beds, pulling the covers over their heads and ignoring the needs of the widows, the orphans, and their neighbors. They wanted to worship other gods. And almost all the prophets are mistreated, abused, harassed, or killed, like Garfield smashing an alarm clock. As we move on, the Gospel of John is filled with themes of light and darkness. The prophets have been sent to God's people for centuries to communicate to them God's light and truth and goodness of the Son, but now the Son himself has entered the dark bedroom of the world to bring light to the people in darkness. The scene in the gospel today has Jesus talking to Nicodemus at night under the cover of darkness. Nicodemus is one of the high priests of the Sanhedrin. This is the same group of people that are going to kill Jesus later. Nicodemus is interested but skeptical about what Jesus is teaching, and he wants to know more. But he asks him to meet at night, secretly, so that the other high priests don't see him. And John, the author, uses the theme of light and darkness not only literally but also figuratively, because Nicodemus has been gently woken up by the warm and inviting light of the sun. Slowly and gradually, he's coming to trust Jesus, but he isn't quite sure if he wants to get out of his comfortable bed and follow him. Nicodemus has now woken up. Jesus gives him the verdict that the light has entered the world. He is now conscious. He is now invited. But only Nicodemus himself can make the choice to actually rise out of his comfortable bed and trust that this good and gentle Jesus is the Messiah that his people have been waiting for. Maybe you can't relate to my aforementioned struggles of getting out of bed. I've talked to farmers whom I admire greatly, and they say, my body wakes me up every day at 5:30, then I get to work. That's amazing. What's your secret? Maybe you do relate to my struggles of trying to get out of bed. The second you open your eyes, you feel the crushing weight of responsibility at your job or taking care of your children. Either way, the literal waking up and getting out of bed has already happened because you're all here. Good job. But what about tomorrow? What about the next day? And the next day? The deeper question is now, will you choose to get out of bed? I don't mean physically in the morning or after a nap. I'm talking about the spiritual reality of rising and following wherever Jesus leads you. Because you can get out of bed in the morning, but you can also go through your whole life asleep or with your eyes half opened, like Nicodemus. And unfortunately, the analogy to my precious sun lamp falls apart because it's man-made. I programmed it. It's not real sunlight. But the light that Jesus shows us is real. And it's scary. Sometimes we don't understand it. But no matter what, it is always good. And it's worth entering. If you stay in bed, you can't fail. You can't make a mistake. You can't get yelled at. You can't disappoint anyone. But if you never get up, you can't succeed either. It's risky, but it is so worth it. And who knows, by getting out of bed every morning, by choosing to live your life in the light, you could be an alarm clock or a wake-up call or a bright ray of sunshine for someone that you least expect. Amen.